Welcome to another chapter of Planning for Your Marketplace webinar. Today we'll be going over hosting and maintenance. Let's get to it.
To hosting and maintenance. Hosting and maintenance is an interesting one, right? I always talk about most of these projects similarly to building a house. Once the house is built, unless you want to add a pool, add a deck, add an arbor, things like that, enhancements and upgrades, which people do over time. They repaint rooms, they do upgrades. And that's kind of the ongoing enhancements you're going to do to the website. But the one thing they do have to do is they have to pay utilities, right? We have to mow the lawn, we have to service. And that's where all the hosting and maintenance fall in, right? Because hosting boils over into performance and security, which are absolutely important to your platform, right? And then obviously the maintenance can be either security, performance, and just standard hosting maintenance, monitoring, or maintenance can boil over into ongoing features, reporting. How do I test the platform? How do I ensure things are going right? How do I measure success? So I'm going to turn it over to you and go ahead and just start talking a little bit about whatever you want to. Because hosting, we could spend a whole entire webinar just on hosting, because that security, performance, budget, everything else, right? But go ahead and introduce the team, everybody, to hosting and what they should think about planning for their hosting.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think this is a pretty deep topic, like you said, and probably the biggest thing is to say in this context that you do want to get into the details when you are planning for your marketplace and at least have an idea about how you're going to manage the hosting and the overall maintenance of your marketplace long term. We're taking a 3 to 5 year view at least. And so with that in mind, who is going to operate the site and actually make sure that things are, managed with some form of SLA? Who's going to make sure that there's a minimum sort of cadence of updates and security patching and performance tuning, and who's going to run reporting and auditing to manage the uptime, to adjust based on, possible spikes due to marketing or growth in the marketplace. A lot of times there will be major plateaus of growth, and you'll want to be able to accommodate those in a really sort of low friction way. Most of our clients like to take advantage of the cloud. Quite a few of them still have on-premise and dedicated environments that are virtualized, of course, but they're physically, on site. There are a lot of different options for hosting. Ultimately, the question here is going to be, what exactly is the plan, and who is going to manage it and take care of it? And some nuances for you to consider are going to be, day to day with the hosting. Who is actually going to be fixing issues if they occur? Who's going to be monitoring and on the hook so that there's, every minute there's a ping, and, every day there's a report on the performance of the site, and someone's operating off of that. Depending on, the level of traffic that you have on your marketplace, you may monitor more often than that. And so who's going to be managing and taking care of this? And then there's a whole detailed, list of topics around security. I won't go into extreme detail, just suffice to say that consistently it is just continually becoming more and more of a pattern that you're going to want to invest in the security side of things. And you'll be required to, in order to work with payment processors and different integrations that you'll typically need to function in the marketplace. There's certain levels of security that you'll have to meet. And this is just going to continue to increase. So we encourage clients to just adopt, and most of our clients do, just adopt the thought process of embracing security as a process that you're going to, work with. So how often are you going to be making security patches and updates to your infrastructure and your hosting? All of this is quite interesting and fun for me. I don't want to bore everyone, though, with detail. There are a lot of nuances we can go into, and we have videos that talk about that. But really, this should be part of your overall plan. And think about the fact that, these changes, whenever you are doing security patches, the monitoring and the ongoing support, this is going to have a cost impact. and it is a logistical aspect that's absolutely critical. Is it necessarily the most complicated part? Absolutely not. I mean, this should be a pretty routine part of the process for you. And whoever you're working with should be able to offer some really nice solutions for this. So it should be pretty turnkey, but it's still critical that you get this plan in place for making sure that you're maintaining and upgrading things so that, 5 years down the road, you're not dealing with something that's never been updated for 5 years. That could cost you a lot, and you could have to redo everything, 5 years from now because technology has sort of passed you by. So,
yep. Good point. Yeah, I remember it's been a number of years, but the city of San Antonio came to us and they had 270 websites and hired us to put their 5-year plan together, do a complete audit of all 270 sites, document every site, where they are, what patches, what modules, what's missing, what needs to be done to make them perfect, then put the 5-year plan together for security and performance for all 270 sites. And I don't remember how many hundreds of pages, but I think if I remember, it was like a 3.5-4 month project for you and the security and infrastructure team to work on that project and put that together. You remember that one? That was a fun project.
Oh, yeah. And really there's a spectrum there, and that's a really great example of how detailed it can get. And that's really the big thing here, is that you should see this as something that you increasingly invest in as you continue to sort of, get more traffic and more exposure to risk. This is just going to be an area that you'll want to continue to monitor and invest in, and partner with a team like Clarity that can really help you to sort of understand and adjust and tune this based on your specific business.
Thanks for watching an episode of our Marketplace Webinar Chapter Series. Join Chris and Ron in our next video where they will cover analytics and reporting. See you there.